Kagurabachi chapter 88. Wow, it was as good as the other chapters. Who would have thought? Yeah, no one saw that coming. I'm almost angry at how good this manga is. It just plagues my mind constantly. Anyway, let's just get into the review because I have some theories to chuck around as well. We get a lot of reveals and little hints at things in this chapter. But we start off with Izuru, the council member of the Kamanabi, the very angry dude who doesn't like Rokuhira, who was in the room that controls the barriers. Now, he took care of the traitor, which means there should no longer be a blip, and he gets informed by the main barrier guy that there are 5 Hishaku on the 5th lowest level of Kamanabi headquarters, so they dispatch the elite sorcerer groups, some of whom we've seen before, like Ikuto, who's recovered from his injuries that he got from Sojo, and the others are kind of just silhouettes or unnamed characters, which means the lower levels are going to be swarming with elite sorcerers soon. Some may be traitors, but that shouldn't be an issue. He has faith that the other, elites will be able to take care of that if it becomes a problem. We come back to Uruha, Hakuri, Yura, and the rest of the Hishaku in the hallway, and Yura immediately questions how the hell Uruha's alive. He genuinely didn't know this, which is very satisfying to see Yura be actually tripped up by something he wasn't expecting. It's like when Aizen actually shows a reaction to something, like frustration or surprise. It kind of makes you go, oh, okay. We then get told that Hakuri's storehouse sorcery has reset as a result of his little brain fixing that the Kamanabi did for him, which is a great way of getting rid of the potential plot hole creation issue that arises with Hakuri having Chihiro, Tobimune, and Kumiyuri registered with the storehouse, and Uruha himself. It doesn't make sense to keep that going because then he can just pull these guys to him anytime he wants, which doesn't make any sense at all. So it's a very good way to actually set up a way to remove that mechanic for now and have it so that Hakuri cannot summon anyone to save him again, because that's happened enough. It's not very arse-pully, which I appreciate from Hokuzono because he actually took the time to set it up and make it consistent and make sense. Anyway, the 2 fodder sorcerer from down the hallway start closing in, but a blade comes through the ceiling and cuts a massive square hole, which not only slices the dude in half, but then opens an opportunity for the newly introduced elite sorcerer to aura farm a little bit as she drops down with her body-sized sword onto that slab of concrete and give Hakuri and Uruha a nice little surprise. Insane aura already, and I can literally, as soon as I saw this page, I knew Twitter would be exploding everywhere over this new introduction. But yes, this is Kiri Shirakai, who used to be babysat by Samura and Uruha because she is the granddaughter of Itzo Shirakai, who is the creator of EI White Purity style. We've seen a few panels of him before, and yeah, the idea is that he's basically gone off to live in the mountains now because he's bored of fighting people who are too weak for him. He's gone to brawl with bears instead. We also get a weird little panel of Samura babysitting Kiri, and it's like, bro, what are you doing? You're babysitting anyone but your own daughter, bro. Sort your life out. But you know what? You fixed up, Samura. I'll let you off this time, okay? But goddamn, bro, chill. And yeah, so Kiri's grown up, joined Kamanabi headquarters as one of Izuru's elite squad, which makes me think that Izuru is likely also related to the Shirakai White Purity style guy because they're very similar looking, and obviously Kiri's been put in his squad, and it all makes sense, right? Just trust me, I can't be asked to talk about it too much. The idea is that they have a really nice relationship where they message each other and be like, are you doing okay? Yeah, I'm doing good. What about you? And all that. But then Kiri kind of reveals that he's a massive misogynist who thinks she can't wield a sword because she's a weak little woman, and she wants to prove him wrong by surpassing him and then murdering him. Yeah, it's a weird plot point. I really don't know what to say about it. Let's just move on. What is quite funny though is throughout the chapter, Hakuri is just completely lost. Everything is way too much for him. This guy has just got little chibi faces plastered throughout the chapter going, huh? Oh, that's cool. Brother is so lost. He's just way out of his depth, but it's kind of funny. I don't know, he's just there. Anyway, while they're having this conversation, the Hishaku are just kind of aura farming in the hallway. They stand there just letting them talk about their business, not doing anything. Lucas Hishaku, that's the name that we've chosen to give the Hishaku that Yura previously told us was the strongest member among them, decided he'd had enough of aura farming and actually tried to sneak attack Uruha from behind. And right as he reached him, Uruha actually pelted him through the wall with a massive kick so strong it caused a shockwave, which is when we finally get the reveal of Uruha's innate sorcery, Koen, Crimson Recital, and it basically allows him to buff one of his abilities at a time and then change it to another ability. So the kick was buffed, and he then goes on to buff his sword, which he uses to cut down the massive demon monster that Bold Hishaku fires at him down the hallway. Now, I really appreciate seeing new sorcery that isn't related to enchanted blades being used in Kagurabachi because it's slightly lacking in that department. I want to see more of it. I really appreciate seeing this. Also wanted to point out that the best genius sorcerer genuinely does not look like he belongs here, bro. This guy is terrified. He's constantly tweaking, and the bald guy had to tell him to chill out. Bro thinks he's on the team. This guy, all he does is freak out. It's funny, but yeah. And then Hakuri just, again, he goes, oh, sorcery, that's cool. And that's about his whole contribution to the chapter. Uruha's ability of being able to buff things, I speculate that he can also buff teammates and their moves, which means we might see a buffed ISO coming from Hakuri very soon. The reason I say this is because Uruha was given a support blade by Kunishige. We know that Uruha and Samura are the supporting blade sorcerers, so it makes sense to give a support blade to a support sorcerer. And what would be a great supporting technique? Being able to buff other sorcerers. So I reckon he can buff himself and others, which means we're likely going to see some buffed moves from Hakuri soon. Uruha uses a buffed EI White Purity style sword attack to literally run straight through the demon beast, obliterating it, and even forcing Yura to draw a sword and clash with him on the other side of the hallway. Now, I very much doubt that this is Yura's innate sorcery. I think it's just an enchanted book that he managed to draw the sword from using like some kind of, he kind of like pulls the letters off the page and it materializes the sword. It's like Crollo from Hunter x Hunter. Very cool, I have to say. And the fact that he clashed with like a boosted EI White Purity style Uruha pretty comfortably is hella impressive. We then kind of get another shot of Best Genius just freaking out again, realizing more sorcerers are coming, and English. God, bro, this series is actually just like messed up my brain. It doesn't work anymore. I've been lobotomized by it. But yeah, Uruha kind of goads Yura into thinking he's screwed because there are loads of sorcerers coming, but Yura then kind of locks in, does the whole, you know, Swordmaster eye glaze over thing again, and says that his job is to create momentary confusion, nothing more. Uruha then immediately recognizes the eyes and says, you. Not as in like, you, and wants to continue speaking. It's like a, it's you kind of moment, like, oh my god, it's you, bruv. Which supports the theory that the Hishaku are actually almost like parts of pain bodies for, or like vessels for the Sword Saint and his power. They are probably extensions of him, extensions of Magatsumi, or extensions of one of Magatsumi's abilities, because there is still an ability that we don't know about yet. I also kind of have a theory that they're not necessarily created by the Sword Saint, but rather the mark, the tattoo, is what kind of allows them to have a connection with the Sword Saint in the first place, which would explain why someone with obvious free will, like Hirohiko, who kind of does his own thing, with his own reasons, who was founded as a kid by Yura, and obviously not created, would still qualify as something like a vessel for the Sword Saint's power, because obviously, you know, you would put on the tattoo and then it would allow them to be taken over by that power, for example, right? Which I think is what's happening here when Yura's eyes go black. It's him kind of being taken over by the power. So they should each all have their own sorcery, their own free will, their own abilities, which we think Yura's ability is something to do with fortune telling, but then they can be taken over by the Sword Saint's power, and probably use his power as well, right? Which is a really cool, interesting idea. And it makes sense because there's lots of Naruto parallels already. There's like the shot of the Hishaku running in different directions last chapter, very similar to Pain, and of course the Swordmaster and Yura both have Rinnegan type eyes. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's probably where we're headed. And it also makes me wonder, it makes me think that Hishaku is actually the original. He is the first attempt at kind of trying to put this tattoo on someone and making them a potential vessel for the Sword Saint's power. And I think it failed, which is why his right eye is messed up. I think Yura is the perfected version, because Hishaku is the only Hishaku sorcerer who has the mark on his left hand. Everyone else has it on the right. And Hishaku's right is where his eye is all messed up. So I reckon he was the first attempt, it failed, Swordmaster then perfected it and managed to give him the mark on, you know, his left hand instead. So I think that's probably where we're going there. That's my personal theory. But yeah, individually, as an individual, Yura's own sorcery, we think is something to do with fortune telling. Because while they're clashing, he says, we have a card, the death match, which can be in reference to like, you know, tarot cards or something like that. He also did the blacked out eye thing when he did the coin flip, which is again luck related or fortune related. He got lucky, and he is also the one who presented the prophecy of the malediction occurring again to Samura with absolutely no evidence, which leads me to believe that he is the creator of the prophecy. There's lots of things to do with prophecy and fortune telling related to Yura. But yeah, that's the current theory I have for who the Hishaku are, how they're related to the Sword Saint, and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, the chapter then ends with Kiri Shirakai, holding her big sword in an EI White Purity stance, telling Hakuri to get back. However, the sword definitely seems bigger than a normal katana, and therefore she's using a slightly different stance, a slightly different method. I think it'd be really interesting if she had adapted and evolved her own style in a bit like, you know, how Zenitsu does with lightning breathing. I think it's called lightning breathing. Thunder breathing? Oh, you know what I mean. If she developed her own style, because it also kind of seems like she might be going in multi directions here, because there's demons being summoned by Baldi from everywhere, and EI normally allows you to go in one straight line. So it'd be really cool if she'd kind of like adapted the ability to allow her to like kind of zigzag or change directions. I think that would be dope. I'd love to see an evolved version of the technique from her, because it would be a really good way of her, you know, surpassing the creator and her grandfather and that whole narrative. So I reckon that's what we're going to see. She's probably going to have her own unique style, at least I hope she does. And it seems she's going to take care of these like demon things, while Uruha is probably going to get cooked by Yura. The most confusing thing about this chapter is the fact that first Yura says, "We're running out of time, I'd appreciate you not getting in our way," to then immediately say, "Our job is to create momentary confusion, nothing more." Brother, this guy just confuses me. He just lies through his teeth. I don't get it. Like, genuinely, he just lies. But yeah, that is the chapter. We got Uruha Sorcery reveal. We got Kiri reveal. We got another moment of Yura and his eyes glossed over. Some potential hints at what their intentions are. Some potential hints at his sorcery. As well as the reveal of another Hishaku sorcery, which is the demon monsters. Now, the only thing about this chapter is it looks like Hokuzono was sick making it, because there is lots of rough sketches involved. Nothing too bad, not Jujutsu Kaisen level, but Hokuzono, man, look after yourself. Please, we don't need you being infected by the Shonen Jump curse already, alright? Just take your time, it's fine. Be in good health, please. Your art is so good, we don't want it suffering. Take your time. Acting like Hokuzono is going to see this fucking video. Anyway, that is the chapter. I have many more theories and things I want to discuss, but I'm going to save that for other videos, I think. So yes, I will catch you next time. I'll see you in a bit.